Donny Deutsch says time and again, and I think this will probably happen, that he thinks the most powerful ad against Donald Trump would be General Mattis, General Kelly, General Milley, and these generals that work for Donald Trump saying you can't trust this guy. You obviously work for Donald Trump, but you've known him for a very long time. I think as long or maybe even longer than I've known him. It's shocking to me that you have a guy who's competitive, and yet really none of his Secretary of Defenses that he had the first 3 years. I don't think any of his Secretary of States, certainly not his intel people, certainly not his UN ambassador,
his vice president,
and now this week not his vice president. Can you explain to people, first of all, why that is, and secondly, why you personally believe, and we haven't talked about this, but I'm sure you do because you've been around him, why you personally believe Donald Trump is such a danger to the republic if he's reelected?
Well, I mean, there's a lot to unpack there, but let me just talk about my colleagues and friends, because we're sort of like in this Trump recovery unit together, which would include Secretary Esper, General Milley, both of which will be speaking at my conference this coming May. It goes down to the temperament, it goes down to the lack of curiosity, and then it goes down to literally the meanness, and it goes down to the way he will hurt anybody and anything in his way. And so one of the big fights that I had with him in the White House was about the institution of the presidency. You know, we're there to serve the people. It's the only job in the country, as every one of us know, where all of the eligible voters get to vote on it. And therefore, you're president for everybody. Mr. Trump doesn't see it that way. Mr. Trump sees it as a self-aggrandizement, grandstanding position. And if you can make a little bit of money on the side, that's fine as well. And so all the policies that you're discussing today, they're seen through that prism. They're not seen through peace, preservation of the democracy, prosperity for all Americans, not just the friends of his that he's cutting taxes for.
So how does
it's all of those reasons.
How does that line up? Can you explain why he admires President Xi so much, why he admires Vladimir Putin so much, why he admires Kim Jong-un so much, why we found out over the past week or two he admired Hitler so much, why we found out from Ivana that he kept Hitler's speeches by his bedside? What is his obsession with dictators, with tyrants, with strong men, people like Orban even?
Well, it has to do with the adulation. And so when you're in countries like that, they get prescribed adulation. You don't have the dissension that you get in the dirty democracy in his mind. And so he wants to be one of them. Make no mistake about that. There's an access of autocracy. He signals to those people every day. I would like to be the Vladimir Putin of North America. You've got Eurasia. She has Asia. Orban has a part of Eastern Europe. That's me. I'm in your family. I'm in your tribe. He signals that to those people. And he signaled that to his staff. This is the reason why 40-plus cabinet members and sub-cabinet members refuse to endorse him. They work very, very closely with him. He doesn't read intelligence briefings. He says ridiculous things in situation rooms. You're not going to get the generals to comment specifically about some of the things that he said because it's just so outrageous. They don't even want to be affiliated with what he said.
Look at these numbers, by the way.
And so that's the reason, Joe.
Yeah. Ex-Trump officials declining to endorse his 2024 run. If you are in the car right now listening, Pence, former vice president; Barr, former attorney general; Bolton, former national security advisor; Esper, former defense secretary; Mattis, former defense secretary; Cassidy Hutchinson, former aide; General Kelly, former chief of staff, his longest chief of staff; his former press secretary, Stephanie Grissom; Sarah Matthews; General Mark Milley, former chairman, Joint Chiefs; Scaramucci; Alyssa Farah Griffin, strategic comms director. I mean, we can go on and on and on and on. I mean, Dan Coates' name's not on there. I know he would never do it. I mean, you just Nikki Haley. You just go down the list. And Michael Steele, you couple that with the fact that this guy really worships dictators. You couple that with January 6th. You couple that with the fact he stole nuclear secrets. And then his IT guy said he ordered him to destroy them. And when he decided not to, he wanted to flood the room to destroy the documents. We could go on and on. You have a federal judge in New York State that said Donald Trump raped E. Jean Carroll. Again, I could go down the list for the next 3 hours of one thing after another, which would have disqualified any other candidate running for president in American history. So why is he tied with Joe Biden right now?
Because he has done two things occurred pretty much at the same time. One was he has inoculated himself with a sycophantic tribe of MAGA followers who reinforce his messaging, who condone and push aside his behavior, who have bought into the lie that he can be a dictator for 24 hours and everything will be all right after that. And so he has this reinforcement energy that sort of is an extension of himself. And you saw very early in
Michael, why don't our friends and neighbors, why don't my friends that I grew up with, people that I went to church with, when I was in Congress, I could hardly go back to church without hearing about Bill Clinton. Every second I was there, the sins of Bill Clinton, and you heard the same thing. Yeah. And now these same people are in the front lines supporting this would-be dictator. It's crazy.
Because Bill Clinton never made them feel the way Donald Trump makes them feel. Donald Trump has a connection to people in a way that sort of elicits a permission structure, a sort of brand, an idea, a sentiment that they attach to.
Wait, who? Where were they raised? Where were they raised? Because they may have gone to the church I went to, but they weren't raised by like my parents. Yeah. Where were these people raised that they would like a guy that treats people this way? A guy that reveres Hitler, reveres Xi, reveres Putin. I could go down the list. What, they like this guy? He makes them feel good? Yes, Joe. I know who feels good doing that?
Wrap your head around it, but they do. You talk to them. You've been in the room with them. You can hear it in their voices a lot of time. You know how these folks, just the thing that connects to them. I mean, how do you explain on the heels of the Access Hollywood tape when Donald Trump denigrates women, that 52% of white suburban women vote for him in the following election?
He did more than denigrate women.
And how do you explain from focus groups that I saw back in 2016, and this is when I knew Donald Trump had something that no other politician had. When I saw this focus group and this one white mother, female from New Hampshire, mother of two, divorced, was asked why was she supporting Donald Trump? You know what her answer was? Because Donald Trump is just like me. So why does she feel that? Why would she say that? And for me, that's been the crux of the problem with everybody else, because they've never taken time to understand why a white suburban mother of two watching a tape of a man saying that he loves grabbing women by their private parts would say he's just like me.
Well, how long am I supposed to sit in a corner, Michael, and try to figure that out? Because I can tell you, I've been trying to figure it out now for 8 years, and I still can't figure it out.
Yeah.
I still can't figure it out.
Therein lies the strength of Donald Trump, because he's able to do something that you can't. He's figured it out. And so that's the crux of where we are right now.
I'm confused. What do you mean he's figured it out?
He's
doing something I can't.
He's unlocked the code. I mean, Eddie
the code
talks about it.
to worship Hitler, the code to
Eddie
do, as the
Glaude
judge says, rape women
These
and
folks aren't
to still win?
They're not worshiping Hitler.
No, Trump is.
It is a thing that it's just the connection that they have. They look past that. That is not a bar. It's a bar to you. It's not a bar to them. They contextualize it differently, though.
Let me guarantee you. Let me guarantee you, Michael. Michael, let me guarantee you that was a bar to every American before 2015. And Elise, you're from Mississippi. I'm from Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Florida. It ain't like I grew up in the Young Marxist League in Greenwich Village. Like, I was born in the heart of Dixie. I grew up in the heart of Dixie. It's like, I still, all these years later, I can't figure it out. And I don't want to drive to Pennsylvania, middle of Pennsylvania, to sit down and go, tell me, I want to understand, because I don't you see, I'm a conservative, so I can call bullshit on that. All right? If liberal media people want to drive to the middle of Pennsylvania and go, oh, tell me why you like a guy who loves Kim Jong-un. You're like, what? Don't waste your time. Don't waste your time. So you grew up where I grew up. You grew up where I grew up. You grew up. Are you Mississippi too?
Yeah, she was born in Mississippi.
Pascagoula.
Yeah.
I think Scaramucci was too, right?
No.
You're not from the Gulf Coast?
No, I was on Long Island, right
perfect-
outside of Queens.
yeah.
Well, that's close to Ole Miss. So we got four Mississippi people here. Explain.
He managed to bulldoze through all the usual conventions of what you can't say, what you can't do in your past, what you can't do in the present. And he managed to make their grievances his grievances. And he is a victim, and then his voters are victim. They are being looked down by elites.
No question.
In all media corridors. And it becomes so much against those who look down on them than what it's all about.
So, Eddie, tell me, how does it make you feel after hearing Republicans your entire life saying, oh, people need to stop being victims? This is about personal responsibility. Another thing I always heard during the Clinton era, this is about personal responsibility. Nobody take personal responsibility. And here these same people have now turned into the biggest snowflakes, the biggest wimps. They get triggered. And so Donald Trump's a victim. I'm a victim. So Donald Trump's a victim, flying around in his 757 or whatever he flies around in. I mean, they've embraced victimhood.
Yeah.